My fiancée kissed her ex at our engagement party. Now her father's being investigated for fraud, and she's sleeping on a friend's couch. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. I met Selena on Hinge. She had this sharp wit, a kind of no-nonsense vibe I admired. We bonded over solar tech and indie coffee shops. She laughed at my dad jokes. After 8 months, she moved in. I proposed at her favorite coastal lookout. She cried. I gave her my grandmother's ring, a symbol of trust. I thought she chose me for me, not for what I could build. We launched a rebrand for my company just weeks after our engagement. Selena suggested a media campaign, even helped script the launch video. Everyone called us power couple goals. I trusted her instincts. She handled social media and investor emails. I didn't question the sudden shift in tone or her late-night strategy calls. She'd say, I've got us. I believed her. I didn't see the strings tightening around my business until it was almost too late. At the engagement party, Selena introduced Draven as just an old friend. He hovered close, way too familiar. When I mentioned it, she laughed and said I was being paranoid. Her dad, a tacoist, clinked his glass and praised her instincts. Everyone smiled. I smiled too tight, uneasy. Later, I caught Draven sneaking out of the kitchen. He winked at me. Selena said he was just helping with drinks. Something didn't feel right, but I stayed silent. A week later, I noticed changes in our bank access. Selena said she was streamlining accounts. She moved funds for marketing, big chunks unexplained. When I asked, she called it a growth strategy. A tacoist echoed her, said I needed to think bigger. Hi, my best friend. Raised an eyebrow. Since when does your fiancé run payroll? I brushed him off. I didn't want to look like I didn't trust her. But inside, something started unraveling. One night, I walked into our home office and found Zelina whispering into the phone. She jumped. Said it was Senna from her yoga group, but the screen flashed Draven. I didn't press. I told myself relationships had weird boundaries. The next morning she gifted me a watch, a little reward, she said. I wore it, but it felt like a leash. Every time it ticked. I questioned if I was rewarding betrayal with silence. Senna invited us to a beach bonfire. Zelina was tense all night, clutching her phone. When I stepped away, I saw her arguing with Draven by the dunes. She claimed it was a misunderstanding, old feelings. Nothing more. I wanted to believe her. Senna barely met my eyes. Kai said I was being played. I told him to back off. But the air between Zelina and me thickened. Love should feel light. Ours started sinking. I reviewed my company's client list. 3 big solar contracts were rerouted through a new shell firm. Selena said it was a tacoist's innovation, tax-efficient vertical alignment. It sounded slick, but Kai found the firm registered under Draven's name. When I asked Selena, she spun it as a legacy partnership. My gut twisted. I kissed her that night, searching for reassurance. She smiled distant. My lips felt cold. I slept with one eye open after that. At a charity gala, Zelina and Draven arrived together. She claimed it was logistics. A tacoist needed her early, and Draven had the car. I pulled her aside. Her breath reeked of whiskey. She laughed when I said I saw her hand on his leg. Jealous much, she snapped. I left, heart pounding, fist clenched. On the ride home, I stared at the watch she gave me and slipped it off for good. I confronted Zelina at home. She stood by the window, arms crossed. You think I'm cheating because of a look? I listed the emails, anxious, contracts. She called it ambition. You're scared of women who think bigger. I told her I wanted out. She scoffed, tossed the ring into my coffee. You'll regret this, she hissed. I didn't flinch. That ring sizzled in the cup like the end of everything fake. The next morning, a tacoist called. Zelina's upset. Let's be civil. I said the engagement was over. He warned, you'll destroy everything we built. I told him to keep the shell firm I'd rebuild. He chuckled. Cold without her? You're nothing. I hung up. Then I shut down access, froze the shared cards, and locked the office accounts. I chose chaos over compromise. My peace wasn't negotiable anymore. Let them scramble. I was done playing nice. I moved into Kai's guest room at night. My phone buzzed with texts from Zelina, each one nastier than the last. Then a voicemail from Draven. You'll beg to come back. I deleted it. My hands shook. Kai handed me a beer and said, burn it all down if you have to. I nodded. It wasn't just heartbreak. It was war, and I finally knew where I stood in the crossfire. Zelina posted a sob story online, said I abandoned her and ruined her career. Comments poured in. Sympathy, then suspicion. Someone asked why Draven's firm was linked to mine. A whistleblower account dropped screenshots, financial overlaps. Ghost invoices, corporate forgery. I didn't post a word, but I sent the files to Raven Doyle, a business journalist. Then I waited. The storm was brewing, and this time I wanted thunder. Nix, Draven's girlfriend, messaged me out of nowhere. She played you. She played him too. Attached were screenshots of Zelina mocking me, texting Draven about timing the betrayal to secure investments. Get the launch, get out, she wrote. My stomach turned. Nix said she found hotel receipts. Zelina and Draven met 2 days before the engagement party. I thanked her, she said. Burn them both. That night, I started compiling every thread. No more silence. Senna texted at 2 a.m. I need to talk. We met at a diner. She looked direct. I covered for her. She whispered. She'd help Zelina doctor receipts and delete backup logs. She said it was just to protect her brand. Senna slid over us screenshots, emails, voice notes. She threatened me too. She added, I told her she'd done the right thing. She nodded, eyes wet. I finally had more than suspicion. I had proof. Raven Doyle called back. This is bigger than I thought, she said. Her team had traced multiple contracts routed through a tacoist's offshore accounts. You're not just a jilted fiancé, she added. You're a whistleblower. I stayed quiet. Raven promised to protect my name. I gave her everything, the texts, the fake invoices, the voice notes. We'll run it next week. For the first time, I felt control returning, not over them but over my story. Zelina showed up at Kai's doorstep, hair disheveled, eyes wild. You ruined me, she hissed. Kai stepped between us. You did that yourself. She tried to guilt me. We were building something. I didn't budge. She screamed, then sobbed. I said leave. She flinched like it stung. Has she left? She muttered, they'll turn on you too. I shut the door, heart hammering. That wasn't love, it was leverage. And she'd just lost her grip. The exposed drop Monday. Headline solar scheme, how one engagement hit a corporate scam. Raven pulled no punches. Screenshots, names, timelines. Attacker was issued a denial as Elena's accounts went private. Draven vanished from LinkedIn. I stayed offline. Kai read comments out loud. This guy dodged a bullet, one said. She deserves prison, said another. My inbox filled with business offers and apology emails. The silence after the noise felt sacred. My name was clean again. 2 weeks later, I received a subpoena. Attackers was under formal investigation. They needed my testimony. I met with lawyers. They said I could claim damages. I declined. Just make sure they can't do this again. One attorney shook my hand. Rare to see someone walk away like that. I smiled. I wasn't walking away, I was walking forward. Horror isn't about revenge, it's about never letting liars write your story again. Nix invited me to a rooftop gathering. Survivors only, she joked. Senna was there, quieter but present. We toasted with cheap champagne. To starting over, Kai said. I watched the skyline. No Zelina, no Draven, just new chances. Nix leaned over. Next time, pick someone who texts back without scheming. We laughed. The breeze felt clean. For once, there was no tension in my shoulders, just quiet. Just now I hadn't felt that in months. Zelina tried damage control, offering public apologies, calling herself a victim of toxic ambition. Her video got 15,000 views. Comments turned quick. Didn't you scam your fiancé? One clip resurfaced of her mocking my watch on a podcast. People weren't buying it. Raven shared updates, sec inquiries, investor fallout. Draven tried rebranding as a disruptor. It flopped. Their empire was toast. I didn't lift a finger. Watching karma work was better than vengeance. A package arrived, no return address. Inside my grandmother's ring, scorched and bent. A note in Zelina's handwriting. We could have had it all. I felt nothing. Kai said, that's not a message, that's bait. He was right. I tossed the ring into the ocean during a solo drive. Let it sink with the version of me that tolerated lies. Some things aren't meant to be fixed. Some stories don't need closure, just endings. A random DDM came and saw what you did. Respect. Attached was a job offer from a clean energy startup in Oregon. I wasn't looking to leave, but the validation hit deep. Raven's article made waves in business ethics circles. Universities invited me to guest speak. I accepted one. Talk about resilience, they said. I smiled, thinking of broken rings and rooftop laughter. Funny how pain gives you a voice, and sometimes even a platform. At a networking event, someone asked, was it worth it? The breakup, the headlines. I paused. Losing her wasn't the cost, believing her was. They nodded. I didn't elaborate. Some truths didn't need decoration. That night, I met Echo. Smart, quiet, ran her own startup. She didn't Google me until day 3. I like that. We talked about tech, not trauma. She said, you don't flinch when things get tense. I replied, I've survived worse than tension. Echo met Kai and Nix at a barbecue. Kai grilled her gently. Nix approved immediately. Finally, a sane one, she joked. No one mentioned Zelina. That silence was its own healing. Echo noticed my old watch, tucked in a drawer. You keeping it? She asked. No, I said. I pawned it the next day. Bought a new one. Simple, quiet, mine, not a leash, not a lie, just time moving forward. On my own terms. Atakos was indicted for corporate fraud. Court dates lined up. Raven texted, told you karma has gips. I watched the footage, him in a suit, refusing comment. Zelina was absent. Rumor had it she fled to Florida. Someone leaked an audio file her mocking victims. The internet turned brutal. I didn't join. I didn't cheer. I just sat in my office, windows open, letting in air. The storm was passing. I'd already survived the flood. Senna started a blog. First post how I enabled a con and got free. She mentioned no names, but I knew she'd gone from cover up to confession. I left a comment, takes guts, she replied. You gave me a reason. Healing isn't loud, it's consistent. Each person pulled from Zelina's web felt like a win. I never wanted fame, but if surviving publicly give others permission to shed shame, I'd take that trade any day. Draven tried to sue for defamation. His case got laughed out in court. Raven's article stood. Truth does that. His new startup failed in under 2 months. Investors bailed. Nix posted a meme, how it started versus how it's going. Split screen of Draven in a yacht and Draven on Reddit arguing with strangers. I didn't comment, just sent a thumbs up. Watching liars implode without lifting a finger. That's better than revenge. That's peace. Zelina sent one final email. No apology, just a bitter line. Hope your startup crashes too. I didn't reply. I flagged it as spam. Then I printed it, folded it into a paper plane, and lit it over the fire pit. Echo watched, amused. Therapeutic, she asked. I nodded, symbolic. We toasted marshmallows after. That night, I slept soundly. No buzz from old phones, no guilt, just quiet. Sometimes closure isn't a conversation, it's a flame. I woke up in Kai's guest room, sunlight creeping through blinds, and felt something strange, calm, not triumph, not revenge, just absence of dread. The watch was gone, the ring too, but I was still here. Senna's blog was bookmarked on my laptop. Nix's texts were silly. Daily, Echo brought coffee without asking. That's what healing looked like, not dramatic, just steady. I looked in the mirror and didn't flinch. Still standing? I said, and I meant it. I revisited the coastal lookout where I once proposed. No ring this time. Just quiet wind and crushing waves. I brought Echo. She didn't ask questions, just stood beside me. I left a stone on the railing, where I'd knelt once. Closure. I murmured. She squeezed my hand. That spot wasn't cursed. It was reclaimed. We got ice cream after. No grand declarations. Healing didn't need ceremony. Just presence. That moment told me love isn't perfect, it's peaceful. Now, my business thrives. No drama, just clean solar projects and satisfied clients. Zelina vanished offline. Draven's last public post was a bitter meme. Atako pled guilty. The courtroom was half empty. I wasn't there. I was on site, wiring panels. Justice didn't need my presence, it already arrived. Kai's kid calls me Uncle Jax. Eiko started sketching logo ideas for a joint venture. Life wasn't loud anymore. Just deliberate. Just mine. I didn't when I rebuilt. That's better. The last thing I said to Zelina leaves still echoes sometimes, but it no longer stings. It reminds me I chose peace. Her downfall wasn't my mission. My dignity was. I speak at local schools now about ethics. Resilience, not revenge. One girl asked, how do you trust again? I told her, start with yourself. The audience clapped. I smiled. That night, Eiko said, you're finally home, huh? I nodded. And for once, I didn't feel like a survivor. I felt whole. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe to check out more stories on my channel.